Everybody wants to make a New Year's resolution. Everybody. Where does it come from? What does it mean? How do we do it? How do we actually take a resolution and see it through? We're going to start out the new year right here on the Manlihood ManCast.
Are you ready to live life to the full? Are you ready to rise up and live a life of honor? Are you ready to boldly step into a life of courage? This is the Manlihood ManCast, and here's your host, Josh Atcher.
Hey, Happy New Year! How awesome is it to be able to enter a new year, to get a fresh start? As we do that, I want to talk about being resolute. Not just making a resolution, but being resolute. So I want you to take some time this week and identify a part of your life that needs to change. Maybe it's your relationship with your spouse, or your parenting skills, or your work habits. Maybe you want to launch a new career as a writer, or become a more positive person, or whatever it is that needs to change in your life. Identify it. And then let's start meditating on what it means to change it permanently. Listen, you don't have to be stuck at a job that you hate for the rest of your life. You don't have to walk on eggshells because you're afraid of your wife, that she's going to leave you if you say the wrong thing. You don't have to be afraid about your kids making bad choices, or afraid of being fat or tired all the time. All those things can be fixed. But all those things are going to require you to change. And change doesn't happen overnight. And it doesn't happen just because you say it will. It starts with aligning your head and your heart with your destination. And then it finishes when you fulfill your commitment. So if you want to lose weight, you can lose it. But if you don't commit to change for the rest of your life, you're going to be in the same place you are now. Trust me, I know. I've been there. I've lost the same 80 pounds how many times? You can resolve to be a better husband, but if you fall back into the same patterns of behavior, you're going to find yourself in the doghouse again. It's not just about changing your behavior. It's about changing your lifestyle. And that starts in your mind, and it flows out from there. Change requires commitment. And if you don't commit to it, you're always going to be your old self. You're going to return to it by default. To be resolute means that you can't be swayed. Can you define yourself as bold? Can you define yourself as steady? When people see your life, do they see you as waffling, indecisive, and wavering? In some ways, I guess it really doesn't matter what other people say or think about you, what their judgments are about you, but at the same time, your reputation is a good indicator of your character. Surround yourself with men who will challenge you, and they're going to ask you the hard questions. Ask them if they see you as bold, steady, and determined, or resolute. While we're often talking about behavior changes, it's important to note that bad behavior like overeating, mouthing off, addictions, they're the visible manifestations of what's happening on the inside, of an inner issue. You can try to change those things all you want, but until you fix the inside, the external problems are just going to keep coming out of that. That internal issue is the root. I found that I often need reminders for me to stay on track. A piece of jewelry or something I carry in my pocket, a Post-it note on my workstation or refrigerator that encourages me to stay the course can really give me that push in the right direction when I start to stray or when I start to get weary of keeping my commitments. Positive reinforcement is great, but sometimes you need a little negative reinforcement. So sometimes something as simple as a rubber band around your wrist that you snap when your mind starts to want the thing that you know that you shouldn't want. Sometimes it helps me associate that pleasurable thing with pain. Sometimes my skin on my wrist gets a little bit red because it takes a while to reinforce that. But I find myself starting to think about that less and less. And I want to go in the wrong direction less and less. In order to avoid being swayed from your path, you've got to make that decision to change internal. You have to change the way you think, and that is really the hardest part. Do you remember those commercials for the NAACP that used to say, "A mind is a terrible thing to waste"? Those words have haunted me often over the years and almost kind of sunk into my head like a brand. Because they highlight the value of that human mind. And they don't even come close to describing the power of it. I know that might sound like a bunch of metaphysical mumbo-jumbo, but sometimes that truth can sound strange. Even ancient truth. The word mindset breaks down to imply that the mind is fixed like concrete or glue. It's set, hardened in the way that it thinks. And this perspective really helps us understand how to succeed and how to accomplish what it is we're meant to do. Because when we set our mind on improving some area of our life, we will improve, especially if we reinforce that concrete as often as we can with continual reminders of where we're going. What is a mindset? It's simply what you think about and how you think about it. So before you can talk about developing a healthy and set, firm, concrete mindset, we have to talk about how you got your unhealthy mindset and why it's unhealthy. From the time you were born, you've heard lies about yourself and the world around you. If you hear a lie enough times, you're going to start to believe that it's true. If you tell yourself that you can't lose weight, will you lose weight? If you tell yourself that you're worthless, will you ever find self-worth? The first step in correcting your mindset involves the choice to identify and root out the lies about your situation. Identify the untruth, call it like it is, and then move on to the next step. And that next step is identifying the truth. The truth is you can do it. You have value. That's the truth. The truth is you are an addict in need of recovery. The truth is you have treated your wife like crap. The truth is you can change. Identify the truth, good or bad, and then determine what changes need to be made in your lifestyle as you strive to chase it. If the truth is bad, then I want you to focus on the corrective result. So maybe it's, I'm an alcoholic, but I'm going to kick this. Or I'm a crappy husband, but I want to choose to be a better one. Cultivating that mindset means kicking out thoughts, daydreams, internal dialogue, whatever that's going against that positive direction that you want to go. Sometimes those thoughts can swirl around us and we'll get off track, and it's up to you to kick it out. How do you do that? It simply starts by telling the truth out loud. Get out of my head. I am not stupid. I will pass this exam. You've also got to kick out the external voices that are holding you back. If your spouse is berating you as you attempt to improve, tell her that you need her support. If you're listening to music or watching television or movies that reinforce those bad habits or ideas, get rid of them. Changing your mind's not instant. It's not simple, and it takes discipline and time in order for you to learn to take captive every thought. Whenever a thought comes into your head, you have to take the time to evaluate it and file it appropriately. Is it positive, encouraging, true, motivating, brutally honest? Is it weak, passive, negative, destructive, or dishonest? You know which ones are good. Put the good ones in the right place and kick the bad thoughts out. Changing your mind, it takes education as well. You've got to read, attend seminars, classes, groups to enrich and enlarge your mind. If you want to see change, you've got to be properly equipped. Probably the most common resolutions are quitting smoking, losing weight, or getting healthy. And these resolutions, like getting sober or quitting drugs and many others, are often in response to addictions. Psychology today defines addiction like this. Addiction is a condition that results when a person ingests a substance, like alcohol, cocaine, or nicotine, or engages in an activity like gambling, sex, or shopping that can be pleasurable, but the continued use or act of which becomes compulsive and interferes with ordinary life responsibilities, such as work, relationships, or health. Users may not be aware that their behavior is out of control and causing problems for themselves and others. There are a number of different ways that we deal with our addiction. We often trade one addiction for another. That's why smokers who quit often gain weight. There are so many facets to treating addiction and getting to the root of that problem that we can't get into it all. Not in this podcast. I'm no expert, but even the experts have got a variety of opinions on it. So if you find yourself in need of getting more help when it comes to addiction, consult an expert, okay? But in the meantime, and especially if you're dealing with the smaller and more manageable addictions, here's some advice. Replace your addictions with good habits. If you normally reach for a sugary soda to quench your thirst, replace it with ice water. If you're addicted to caffeine, by the way, if you are addicted to caffeine, that first 3 days of breaking that addiction are the hardest because you start to get a headache. So if you can make it past those first 3 or 4 days, you're going to be fine. But you need to replace that with a boost of energy from exercise or stretching. A quick whiff of peppermint oil or a bite of an orange can actually give almost the same kind of boost of energy that caffeine can. Are you trying to quit smoking? Well, if you're taking the smoke breaks out of your life, you've got to replace them with something that is good for you. Get together with your brothers in arms and talk about the addictions that you need to cast off. Ask them for advice, for accountability, and be honest with them about the struggles. And also about the process. It's not going to be instant because sometimes screwing up is part of the process. I just want to encourage you guys, as a whole, if you're going to make a New Year's resolution, I want that resolution for you to say that I'm going to be resolute. I want you to recognize that this is not a year-long change, it's a lifelong change. And we have to make it together. I know that there's some things that I've got to work on. I know there's things that I need to change. And let's do this together. Okay, guys? Let's dig in our heels and say, no more. I don't want to be this way anymore. And let's make the adjustments that we need to make. I believe in you. I know that you can do it. I know that I can do it. So let's do it together. I love you guys. I care about you guys. And I'll see you next week. Hey man, I see you. I see your fire going out. I see your marriage barely holding on. I know you're broke, wore out, and at the end of your rope. I've been there. It sucks. Sucks the spark right out of you. Till all you have is a pile of wet wood. It feels like it's never gonna burn. I can't fix your problems. I can't make her love you again. I can't lose 50 pounds for you or fill your bank account. But I can remind you of who you are. I can share some of my fire. I can help you make a plan to get your life back on track. So let's go. Let's do this. Let's reignite our lives. There's a lot at stake. No one wants their marriage to end in divorce. No one wants to wallow in despair or to the dark places that follow. So let's do it. Let's reignite our lives. Let's reignite our passion, our marriage, our health, our career, our dreams, our mindsets. Get Reignite today.
If you want to be a better man, check out our website, manlihood.com, for blogs, videos, and more from our Manlihood team. And you can also join our private Facebook group, Manlihood ManCast, where you can meet up with a band of brothers who will challenge you and help you on your journey of manhood. This episode is produced by Hatcher Media for manlihood.com. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you're listening to the show. Tune in again for more of the Manlihood ManCast.